What's up, guys? DS3 TV here. We are here to watch Extra Credits channel, and this is going to be black boxing heavyweights featuring This is going to be Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, and Muhammad Ali. So yeah, we're gonna learn some history about all of these wonderful, amazing people. And yeah, also subscribe to the channel. Want to get 1,000 subscribers by Valentine's Day. And yeah, comment videos that you want me to react to in the comment section down below. I don't always react to history videos, so you can always put any kind of videos that you want me to react to. Just not music videos. Don't react to those because it could be a whole lot of issues with copyright and stuff like that, and like just a lot of stuff with stuff like that. So I don't react to music videos, but yeah, let's get into it. And
Reno, Nevada, July 4th, 1910. They're calling it the fight of the century. For 19 months, Jack Johnson has held the world heavyweight title, the first black man to do so. He successfully defended it from a host of challengers, but this is different. Tonight, across the ring from him sits James J. Jeffries, a previous champion who some time ago refused to give Johnson a shot at the title because of the color of his skin. Now he's been publicly pressured to come out of retirement by white boxing fans disappointed by Johnson's reign. Dubbed the Great White Hope, he has come to, quote, reclaim the heavyweight title for the white race. The fight bell rings. Johnson, the child of former slaves, steps forward in front of a hostile crowd and begins the fight to not only defend his title, but his very identity. A smile crosses his lips because he knows that he cannot be beat, at least not today. As we continue to educate ourselves on Black history in America, we urge you to join us in supporting highly important institutions, such as this week's organization, the Parkinson's Foundation, which works to improve the lives and care of people with Parkinson's disease, as well as advancing research towards a cure. To learn more and donate, please check out the link in the description below.
This is good, and also another reason I probably could tell why they're doing this because it's Black History Month. So yes, happy Black History Month, and also. Yeah, I'm happy that Black history is being done more by channels like this, too.
History of boxing in America has always had a racial dimension. During slavery, plantation owners would hold bouts for their own amusement, pairing enslaved workers up by size and holding bare-knuckle matches. But Jack Johnson was the first black man to be recognized as a legitimate champion. Born in Galveston, Texas in 1878, Jack got his start fighting in the pitiless free-for-alls called battle royals, where as many as 8 young black men would brawl, while drunken white men cheered and placed bets. Johnson would usually be the last man standing. As his reputation grew, he was soon booking solo fights. Eager to escape the dreary circumstances facing most black men during the Jim Crow era, Johnson traveled the country in the early 1900s to take on any opponent. The fact was, they were scared he might beat them. Johnson had amassed 50 wins by 1908, and the thought of a black champion was unbearable to these men. But starting 2 years prior, Johnson began following heavyweight champ Canadian Tommy Burns around the globe, egging him on and saying he wanted a shot at the title. Finally, Burns relented, and the two men faced off in Sydney, Australia on December 26th. Burns lasted 14 rounds, and Johnson walked away with the heavyweight title. A succession of white challengers trying to unseat him followed, all to no avail, until Jeffries agreed to the aforementioned fight of the century. In the 4th round, Johnson hit Jeffries so hard that he reportedly knew at that moment there was no way he'd win. In the 15th round, Johnson knocked Jeffries through the ropes. Johnson kept the title, and race riots erupted across the country as a result.
That's still an amazing feat, and to like just to do that, it's so crazy to think that like that moved us as black people so much further in that sport, and that's actually pretty that's very interesting.
But beyond being champ, there were other reasons whites hated Johnson. At a time when a black man could be lynched for even looking at a white woman, he had a series of white girlfriends, 3 of whom he married. He also frequented brothels that normally catered to only white men. So unbeatable in the ring, Johnson's opponents turned and attacked him in his private life. Vilified in the press, fleeced for money, and convicted on trumped-up charges, he served a 1-year sentence in 1920 that dimmed his spark. He lost the title and disappeared into low-pay exhibition matches, eventually dying in a car crash in 1946. Because of the reaction against Johnson, black men would not be allowed to pursue the heavyweight championship again for 22 years. And when one black man did, he would be, at least publicly, Johnson's opposite. Joe Louis, born in 1914, came from a sharecropper family that left Alabama during the Great Migration. He took up the sport as a teenager after some childhood friends encouraged him to abandon his violin lessons and join a boxing gym. And while Louis might have secretly indulged in nightlife, he'd been groomed to project an image of a family man married to an African-American woman. But despite his skill in the ring, 50 amateur bouts, and a 22-0 professional record, he too would face numerous obstacles, including himself. While Louis worked his way toward a title shot, gunning for the current world champion James Braddock, he took a bout against Max Schmeling, a German former world champ who had a very prominent big fan in his corner, Adolf Hitler. But at this point, Louis had started believing in his own hype a little too much and didn't train properly for the fight. Schmeling won an upset victory and went home to find himself a propaganda tool. Now technically, that meant that Schmeling should have fought Braddock for the championship. But Braddock broke the rules and fought Louis instead, a move at least partially motivated by Louis's management cutting Braddock into a percentage of Louis's future purses. And at that bout, Louis took the championship, delivering the only knockout blow of Braddock's career. Then with the specter of World War II looming, the upcoming Louis-Schmeling rematch in 1938 became one of the most politicized sporting events in history. German Aryan versus Black American, fascism versus democracy. And when Schmeling stepped into Madison Square Garden, the fans pelted him with garbage. Joe Louis destroyed him in the first round. Louis became a hero, and Schmeling was sent to the front lines as a paratrooper. Louis would also enlist in the armed forces, giving up 4 years of his prime to be a morale booster for the army, star in propaganda films, fight charity matches for soldiers, and occasionally serve as the voice of neglected black soldiers who were often given substandard equipment and not allowed to attend USO shows. But upon coming home, he'd find the IRS on his tail. Many of his charitable bouts during the war, though he'd made no money off them, were counted as income, leaving him with a whopping bill. He continued to fight, but...
That's insane. What? So they took, well, if he didn't make any money from them, they shouldn't have been able to take anything from it. That's interesting. Okay.
But eventually lost his title and his fortune, and his financial troubles followed him until his death. Even though Joe Louis had been a trailblazer and a symbol of black achievement, his unrewarded patriotism and his pacificity in the face of his financial demise served as a cautionary tale. And as young black men began to lose patience with the slow progress of racial justice, they found their frustrations reflected back at them by a new champion, who many to this day still consider the greatest. Cassius Marcellus Clay was born in Louisville, Kentucky in 1942. As a kid, he'd learned to box so he could fight a boy who'd stolen his bicycle, and by 1960, he'd won gold on America's Olympic boxing team. Then in 1964, when he beat Sonny Liston to win the heavyweight championship, he announced that he had embraced Islam and changed his name to Muhammad Ali. By now, partially due to Joe Louis, the sports landscape had changed. Black boxers were now box office draws.
And also definitely rest in power to Muhammad Ali. He's, he's passed. He's definitely still is the greatest boxer ever.
And several black heavyweights populated the scene. In fact, things had opened up so much that Ali would face a litany of fearsome black challengers. Many of these men were bigger and stronger, but not quicker or better. Ali took on all comers and ended his career with an inspiring 56-5 record after dominating the heavyweight division for much of the 60s and 70s. And some bouts, like the Thrilla in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle, will be studied by boxing aficionados for decades. But Ali's greatest battle outside of the ring would be born of his personal convictions. Early on, he believed he could usher in positive changes for black people in the U.S. by leveraging his good looks, considerable charm, intellect, and business savvy. But that less confrontational road was not affecting change at the pace black Americans required. Due to his religious beliefs and the fact that he saw his place was fighting racism in America and not the Viet Cong in Southeast Asia, he refused to be drafted in...
Which is actually something that I will talk about because I definitely agree with Muhammad Ali, and I know that this is going to be a controversial topic, but I have no problem with anybody going to, going into the military or anything. That's definitely something I don't have a problem with. Do whatever you're going to do. But for me, I could never go into the military because they don't treat us right anyway. I can if you look at any of the like protests that has been happening with Black Lives Matter, they are treated so much differently than, say, at the Capitol. When people were storming the Capitol, they didn't even get shot, most of them. Like, people got shot and killed at the Black Lives Matter protests, and they were just protesting. They were protesting for rights for people of my skin color. But yet, you don't do anything to people that's a lighter skin tone than mine. Like, that's always been a tough thing for me too. And also, I do have Native American in my family too. So America hasn't done enough for me to want to die for my country. I'm just saying that on camera right now. And because I completely full-heartedly believe that, and I don't care who says anything different. That's just my beliefs. Now, like I said, I don't have any problem with anybody else, going into like the military. Because I have friends in the military. Family that went to the military. But that's just how I feel about the military. That's it. I could never go into that because America has never really helped me as a black man in America. So that's, sorry to get a little bit serious, but I gotta be completely 100% honest with you guys, and I'm always gonna be honest with you guys, even if you might not like what I said, but I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, and you can always have your different sides of opinions, and we can agree or disagree, but that's just how I feel. So I just had to say that before we get back into this video.
Into the Vietnam War, stripped of his heavyweight title, fined, and forced to battle a possible 5-year jail sentence in court, he lost 3 prime career years. The U.S. government and power structure wanted to quash Ali, fearing his views on civil rights and the immorality of the Vietnam War would impact enlistment by black Americans. This reminds me of something recently, but can't quite put my finger on it. The sanctions against Ali would eventually get overturned by the Supreme Court. But after a 3-year...
It's not like things don't happen the same. It's not like, history doesn't repeat itself a lot like that. But, yeah.
Absence from the ring, he faced a long, hard road to get his title back. And while he would go on to be champ again, Father Time was nipping at his heels. He fully retired from boxing in 1981 and proceeded to spend decades as a worldwide goodwill ambassador until finally succumbing to Parkinson's disease in 2016. The life of a professional boxer is brutal in many ways, which is why it's ironic that all 3 of these men faced their greatest battles not at the hands of a fellow pugilist, but from the white world's reaction to their lives' choices. Whether it was Johnson's free-spirited ways, Lewis's lack of business savvy, or Ali's religious beliefs, they would all receive a stunning right hook from the world's most insidious opponent. And unfortunately, systematic racism is currently undefeated and has one heck of a reach advantage. In order for that to change, we can't throw in the towel. We all have to keep fighting. This show wouldn't...
That is definitely true, and I'm happy that he said it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video with me, and I'm interested to hear your guys' comments and opinions in the comment section down below. And also subscribe to the channel. Want to get down subscribers by Valentine's Day, and talk to you guys in the next video, and peace.